I'm telling you right now, save the tape. He's not giving $8 million to Blake Lively or the lawyers in this case.
The courtroom drama is heating up once again. New reports suggest Blake Lively's request to recover millions in legal fees is expected to face strong opposition from Justin Baldoni's legal team. The upcoming hearing could become one of the most important moments in the case. At the center of the dispute is the size of the fee request. Critics have questioned whether the claimed legal costs and reported work hours are reasonable, while Blake's attorneys are expected to argue that the amount is fully justified. The court has not yet ruled on the request. For now, the judge will decide whether any legal fees should be awarded and, if so, how much. Until then, online claims about a major victory or defeat for either side remain speculation. With both legal teams preparing their arguments, the next court decision could significantly shape where this high-profile case goes next.
In order to get at their billable hours at $8 million, they would need to have 5,000 to 6,000 staff hours across those firms in order to get to $8 million. So like that alone just proves how full of BS they are, because the math ain't mathin'.
The legal battle has taken another dramatic turn. According to recent court filings, Blake Lively's legal team has asked the court to award up to $8 million in legal fees. The request immediately grabbed attention not only because of the amount, but because fee requests of this size often draw significant scrutiny. The filing quickly became a major talking point among those following the case. After overseeing the dispute for months, the judge is already familiar with the arguments and evidence presented by both sides. Now, attention has shifted to how the court will evaluate this latest request. Whether the judge approves the full amount, reduces it, or rejects it altogether remains to be seen. For now, the request has added another high-stakes chapter to an already closely watched legal battle, with both sides preparing for the court's next
ordinary
move.
request.
You know, this is one of those things. I keep thinking that she and her ego have been driving this litigation.
The debate didn't stop with the number itself. Some legal observers suggested the request could be part of a common courtroom strategy: start with a very high figure, knowing the court may reduce it later. If that happens, the final amount could still be considered a win. But many people following the case believe the situation may be more complicated. Throughout the proceedings, the judge has shown a willingness to closely examine requests rather than simply accept them at face value. That's why attention quickly shifted to the details behind the filing. According to the documents, a large portion of the legal work cited reportedly took place within a relatively short period, spanning roughly 2 months in early 2025. That detail immediately sparked discussion among court watchers, with many wondering what level of work would be needed to support such a substantial fee request. As questions spread online, supporters and critics alike began analyzing the figures, turning the filing into yet another major talking point in an already high-profile legal battle.
What's $8 million divided by $1,300? That's 6,100 hours of work in 3 months. I mean, that's an insane amount of money.
One part of this case that has captured the most attention is how nearly every major court filing has sparked a fresh wave of public discussion. The same thing happened when the request for $8 million in legal fees was submitted. Instead of being treated as a routine filing, many people saw it as a major test of how the court would respond to one of the largest financial requests made during the lawsuit. Whether the judge approves the full amount, reduces it, or denies it altogether is ultimately a decision for the court. But the moment the filing became public, it quickly turned into one of the biggest talking points of the entire legal battle. So why did this number attract so much scrutiny? According to Blake's filing, some attorneys on her legal team reportedly charged hourly rates as high as $1,300. While that certainly reflects a premium legal team, many observers began calculating what an $8 million bill would actually represent. Based on those hourly rates, reaching that total would require an enormous number of billable hours. That calculation immediately raised questions. Many people wondered whether such a massive amount of legal work could realistically have been completed within the time frame involved in the case. The discussion became even more intense once those billable hours were converted into actual workdays. Suddenly, the focus shifted away from the headline figure and toward the amount of behind-the-scenes work needed to justify it. It suggested that numerous attorneys, associates, paralegals, and support staff would all have needed to log substantial hours over a relatively short period. Because of that, many legal commentators began debating whether the requested amount accurately reflected the work performed. Of course, the court has yet to decide whether the request is reasonable. But from the moment the filing surfaced, the calculations themselves became a major part of the public conversation. Legal professionals following the case noted that fee requests are generally expected to be directly connected to the specific legal services provided. Rather than focusing only on the final dollar amount, courts typically examine how the figure was calculated, which tasks were included, whether the billed hours were appropriate, and if every charge is properly supported. In high-profile cases involving celebrities, legal teams often present every argument they believe could strengthen their client's position. However, that doesn't guarantee every request will be approved. The court's role is to review the evidence, evaluate the filings, and determine what is legally justified. That brings the spotlight back to Judge Lyman. No matter how much either side requests, the final ruling rests with the court. Given the attention this filing has already generated, the judge's decision is expected to be one of the most closely watched moments in the entire lawsuit.
Higher case.
Asking for $7.5 million worth of attorney's fees and $500,000 worth of costs for the dismissal of one claim is embarrassing.
Many observers believe this is the point where Blake Lively's legal team faced even greater scrutiny. The discussion wasn't only about the size of the $8 million request, it also centered on the evidence used to justify it. In their filing, Blake's attorneys argued that they were not obligated to provide detailed billing records listing every hour worked. Instead, they cited prior legal precedent, saying courts have the authority in certain situations to award attorneys fees based on sworn declarations from counsel rather than complete timesheets. That position quickly became one of the most debated aspects of the motion. While many legal experts acknowledged that judges can exercise discretion in fee awards, they also noted that courts generally expect enough supporting evidence to demonstrate why the requested fees are reasonable. As a result, the filing drew significant attention from attorneys and court watchers alike. For a request involving millions of dollars, many people expected a far more detailed breakdown. After all, when such a large amount is being requested, it's natural to ask how the total was calculated, what legal work was completed, how many hours were spent, and which members of the legal team performed that work. According to the filing, nearly $5.2 million of the total request was attributed to what the attorneys described as intertwined work legal efforts they argued benefited multiple issues in the case at the same time. That idea is not uncommon in complex litigation, since certain legal tasks can overlap across related claims. Even so, courts generally need enough information to understand how those figures were calculated and why they are justified. For that reason, much of the public conversation shifted away from the total dollar amount and toward the supporting documentation itself. Many expected a clearer explanation of the methods used to arrive at such a substantial figure. Critics argued that several important questions remained unanswered. How were the billable hours determined? Which specific legal tasks were included? How was the work divided among the various claims and members of the legal team? Ultimately, whether the explanation provided is sufficient is a decision only Judge Lyman can make. What is already clear, however, is that the supporting documentation has become nearly as controversial as the multi-million-dollar fee request itself.
Dollar amount.
The problem is that they're being so really opaque and just kind of shady about it, of what this work is. Because if you're not transparent, you're hiding something, right?
For many people following the case, this is where the debate took another turn. Once legal commentators began separating the fees that could potentially qualify for reimbursement from those that might not, the discussion changed significantly. According to some legal analysts, when they focus only on billing entries tied directly to defending the defamation claim, the portion they argued could be eligible for fee recovery under California law, the estimated amount was nowhere near the requested $8 million. Instead, they calculated a figure of roughly $346,885. That comparison immediately drew attention. Blake's legal team had requested $8 million, yet the estimate produced by those analysts was only a small fraction of that total. The difference between the two numbers led many observers to question how the larger request had been calculated. Their reasoning was straightforward. If approximately $346,000 represented the legal work they believed qualified under the applicable statute, then what accounted for the remaining millions included in the request? Whether the court ultimately agrees with that interpretation remains unknown, but once those calculations began circulating, the public conversation surrounding the filing shifted dramatically. The discussion didn't stop there. Some legal professionals have suggested that, even if the court decides to award attorneys' fees, the final amount could be considerably lower than the analyst's estimate. Predictions from some attorneys have placed a potential award somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000, although those figures remain speculative until the court issues a ruling. If that were to happen, it would represent only a small percentage of the original $8 million request. Naturally, that possibility has fueled even more debate about whether such an outcome could reasonably be viewed as a success. Meanwhile, many observers have pointed out that a filing originally intended to strengthen Blake's legal position is now being closely examined, with critics scrutinizing the requested fees and supporting calculations in detail. Ultimately, however, the final decision rests entirely with the court, and only the judge can determine what amount, if any, is legally justified.
Big law calculation is this judge is going to see 8 million. Baldoni's going to come in and say it's worth about 50 cents.
That's the theory many people have been debating. According to that view, the massive fee request was designed to dominate news cycles, knowing most people remember the first headline, not the final court ruling. From a PR perspective, it grabbed attention. Inside the courtroom, however, it faced much tougher scrutiny. The strategy may have backfired. Instead of accepting the headline, lawyers, fans, and legal commentators started reading the filing, checking the calculations, and questioning how the total was reached. The conversation quickly shifted from, "Blake wants $8 million," to, "How is that number justified?" If Judge Lyman significantly reduces the request, many believe the lasting story won't be the demand, it'll be how much was cut. Adding to the drama are reports claiming Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds have spent around $50 million over 2 years battling Justin Baldoni. That's the kind of budget used to produce major Hollywood films. Regardless of where people stand, it's an astonishing figure. Many observers argue the biggest surprise isn't the cost itself, but that the couple may have emerged in a weaker position than when the dispute began. Some critics believe the $8 million request was also an effort to recover part of that enormous financial burden. Justin Baldoni's legal team has challenged the request, leaving the final decision in Judge Lyman's hands. Then came another unexpected twist. Many assumed Blake and Ryan's powerful Hollywood connections would rally behind them. Instead, as the controversy expanded and began affecting careers and reputations, public support from many famous friends appeared to fade. And that silence has become one of the most talked about parts of the entire saga, because in Hollywood, sometimes the loudest statement is who says nothing at all.